Well, now, 40 years is an amazing age. And by the way, these are the things that you're supposed to do immediately. And guess how many are there? Five of them that you're supposed to do immediately when you hit 40 years. And you know what, by the way, they usually say 40 years is the youth age of the old, and the 30 years is the old age of the youth. Now, this is what you're supposed to do because each and every category of somebody, let's say in terms of life or rather in terms of age, they usually respond life differently. For example, if you pull somebody aged 25 years and pull somebody aged 50 years, those are two different people. For example, somebody who is aged 25 years and you give them $1 million or 2 million, and then the other one at 50, you give them 2 million. Those guys are thinking differently, all right? The guy at 25 ought to think about how to grow that money, invest that money, and all those kind of things because the guy has a luxury of time. Let's say everything goes hayway and the money is lost. The guy can actually have the time to go back and do the thing again. But the guy at 50, probably if he doesn't have a house, probably that's the thing that they will think about. It's more of safeguarding than investing. You get what I'm saying? Now, today we're talking about what happens the moment you clock what we call the youth age of the old, which is 40 years old. And by the way, this is a video for anybody and everybody, even if you are 20 years old, at the end of the day, by God's grace, you're going to reach this age. All right? See, go ahead and like the video. By the way, make sure that you subscribe and leave a comment down below there. Let's get into the point. Now, the point number one, make sure that you do what you understand. Listen, let me tell you one secret. It's very simple. From 20 to 30, do everything. Do the most thing as you can. From 30 to 40, follow somebody, you know. Follow somebody so that you can learn. So by the time now you hit 40 to 50, do that what you understand. If you're a pilot, click onto that. If you're an investor, say in real estate, click to that. If you're somebody who's operating business, do exactly that. If you're a teacher, do exactly that. Now think of how you can be able to diversify on that. When I say diversify, for example, let's say you're too good. Let's say you're running a business, you're in hardware, or maybe say you're in production, or let's say maybe you're a photographer. You already know the gig. You understand it well and better. You know why I'm saying when you're at 40, do that what you understand? Because honestly speaking, you don't have time to try many things as the time goes. Why? Well, I know you may argue from the point of say I'm gonna say go retire when I'm at 60, I have 20 years to go. But the fact remains that at this particular age, you realize that most of the things, probably if you do have a family, some of your kids probably are either in high school or joining high school. Like you are somewhere where a lot of bills are needed and such kind of things. And that helps me to actually go to the point number two: monitor every coin. I'm not yet finishing with the first point, but let me just discuss it a little further before I go to the second point. At this particular age, don't over-try things here and there. I understand there is some sort of anxiety that comes in with this age because probably you're looking at your peers. Some of them have already built their homes, or they are doing so, or they're about to do so. They have the financial, or some of them do not have, but if they want, they will do so. They have what you call the financial freedom. And then you're like, okay, fine, I'm gonna try this, try the other, so that at least I can get myself somewhere. And in that process, you end up trying a lot of things and you end up even losing that what you understand. No, go ahead and do that what you understand. All right? Okay, let's go to point number two: monitor every coin. I mean, seriously, it's quite of indiscipline if at 40 we are still talking about how to manage your finances, to manage the small things. I'm pretty sure you're not in an individual who can just receive a single call and you get out of your home if it's on a weekend and you go do what we call the drinking spree, and you come back home say on Sunday morning or whatever the thing it is, and you have squandered almost everything. And I mean, at that particular age, we really don't expect you to do that because we're no longer arguing from the point of you're not mature. You're already an adult. I mean, for God's sake, you've been 22 years old since you became an adult. That's from 18. Well, if you come from Kenya, because you're recognized as an adult when you hit 18 years old, it's the age of consent. So the point is, at this particular age, on a very serious note, what you're supposed to do is you monitor every coin, and never forget this was as long as you live. Take care of coins and notes will take care of themselves, or take care of coins and bills will take care of themselves. It's as simple as that. Take care of minor things, major ones will take care of themselves. What you're supposed to do is that scrutinize everywhere your coin is going. Understand, hey, I do have a weakness when it comes to communications. By the way, personally, I realized before I had set up a Wi-Fi in my home, I realized I was actually, using a lot of money when it comes to buying of data and maybe internet accessibility, communication, and all those kind of things. By the time I actually sit down and actually monitored how much I'm using, I realized, whew, wow, I need to set up a Wi-Fi in my home and all those kind of things. So the thing is, monitor that what your weakness are. If maybe you're drinking, then ask yourself, how much am I doing? So is it choking my bills? Is it choking my savings? Because at this particular point, you need to be putting your house in order. For God's sake, you're actually becoming, older and older, and at a particular time will come when your productivity will actually go down. So the thing is, make sure that you put your house in order, make sure that you monitor every coin, have yourself what you call a working budget. The issue of impulse buying should not be your language. I mean, at this particular point, and if you can just show up anywhere and buy something worth 2,000 without even planning, that is indiscipline, unless it's an opportunity to invest. So I don't expect you to argue from that particular point, because that can get yourself into a big mess. All right. So let's go to point number two, or rather point number three. It says not a must that you be understood by people. Just do it. For example, you've done all your calculations and then you've realized I want to set up a thing. Just go ahead and do it. You see, one thing that you're gonna realize, and don't ask me how I know this, but I've interacted with quite old people at their 50s and 60s, and they tell me, I ask them, what is the greatest regret that you have in your life? They tell me, fear. I feared to do something because I was actually wondering what would people say and all those kind of things. And ask them, then, if then I was to take you back to where I am right now, what would you be doing? They say, I will try as many as you can and disregard what people are viewing it. By the way, if you don't believe this, most of the people sit on their talents, sit on their abilities, sit on their investments, just because they fear. Fear of what? Fear of, hey, how will it transpire? What will it happen? What will people say? For example, let's take this case scenario. And I was sharing with some of the graduates, I was telling them, sometimes it's good to pick that what is available before you get that what you want. And they were like, yeah, sure, but Joseph, are you saying like I go out there and do some, maize roasting at the roadside and what have you? If that calls for that, for you to be successful, so be it. You go ahead and do the thing. But now the issue is this. See, you're a graduate. Almost everybody in your village knows that you're a graduate. Therefore, you kind of become a bit choosy. I remember there was a time in our country we had something called Kazi Mtaani. Basically, it was a program that was offered by the government, whereby the youths who didn't have the job were given the roles of just going, through the villages and towns and cities to just clean the places. And they used to be paid, I think it was around $5 or $4 or something. And then some of guys were saying, I don't want to mention the county. They were saying, hey, we don't want this job. It's tiring. You know what? We didn't actually go to school to a university to study and do these kind of things. Well, they actually like the point of, well, this is what is available as of now. Pick that what is available as you work what you would like to get in future. I was into the interior design, not because that I loved the job, but because I wanted to pay the bills. And if you can't pay the bills, just the basic bills of buying clothing, just to be a human being, then even here upstairs you become a bit of a problem. So it's good to make sure that you just pick what is available. Don't sort of over listen to people what they're saying, because if you do, then you can get yourself into lots of problems. Oh my goodness, sorry about that. Now we go to the next point. Basket of bills is actually expanding. Did you know this? That the older you get, the more bills you tend to have. And what does that mean? Simply means that the older you get, you actually probably when you're at 40, you're getting kids joining high school. You're getting some kids actually, sort of them high school or universities or whatever the place it is. Also, yourself as a human being, you really need this a lot of upkeeps. Let's say maybe you're lucky, you did build yourself a house, you have a car, you have some workers somewhere, you have some businesses, you have a lot of things that are going on. Therefore, it means that you have a lot of bills to pay. And this is how it goes. Who much is given, you're right, much is expected. So therefore, you having a lot of bill. The basket of bill is actually expanding. So what should you do? Go ahead and do what we call create other streams of income. And this is the high time to actually go by. If you know very well, by the way, I should even add this point somewhere. If you know very well that you're actually stable somewhere, maybe you have a business that is doing good, you understand it in and out. Maybe you're selling spare parts, you already understand the business is doing amazing. What you're supposed to do, learn to diversify. To diversify doesn't have to start a new thing. Maybe a business, let's say for example, you're in a business. To diversify into a business is a bit tricky. But if you're from a business, you diversify to an investment, that is very good. Diversify and safeguard. Diversify and safeguard. Okay? Because what you're looking forward is now, remember what I said, from 21 all the way to 45, you're supposed to focus on growing your cash. From 46 all the way to 60 years old, this is a phase of life that you're supposed to focus on storing the cash, storing, or we can call it safeguarding. All right. So when you're at this particular age, the bills of basket is expanding. What does it mean? It means that you have to leverage on that what you understand. Probably some of the streams of cash that you have, you can channel towards some investment. This is a high time you can pick the investment option. You can get into the real estate if you have the capacity this time to get yourself into something else. But don't get yourself into an industry that you totally, for example, say you are selling, say you're into pharmacy, you're selling medicines and what have you. Can you imagine getting yourself into things like cereals? It might have, unless you have somebody who will handhold you to shorten the time, because what you don't have, we don't have time to try things at the same. No, you go ahead and diversify and get yourself into a thing that doesn't have a lot of moving parts. For example, if you decide to get into the real estate, like building rentals and what have you, that one does not have a lot of complications, does not have a lot of attentions and what have you. So it is good to make sure that at least you understand that particular area. Now, let's go to the point number 5. The point number 5 is that put your social life in order. This one is quite sensitive. When I say put your social life in order, I simply mean you see, you're growing old, and when we tend to go, when we grow old, we tend to have a reliance with people. We need social connection. We need also to have people who actually are by our side, and that's why you find some people get married, they have kids on the basis of, hey, these kids will actually take care of me in one way or the other, not on the finances part, but at just the social part and all those kind of things. So it is good to put your social life in order, because you really need to have the social life. By the way, it's kind of, I don't know whether you guys have ever thought this about life. The way you start about life is the way you end about life. See, the way you start about life is quite different. The way you start about life is when you rely on everyone who is around you to support you, to actually, until you stand by your feet. You really need a lot of people. And when you're facing off, when you're getting off the life, then again, you still need to have or rely with everyone who is around you just to help you to get off the life. The way we get in is the way we get out. It is quite interesting. And therefore, it means that if you can put your social life in order, it's quite an amazing thing. And this is what I always tell people. Yeah, I understand you might feel like, hey, you want to do this, but the fact remains, it is good when you have your social life in order. The social life, this can be actually a broad topic. Depends. You can get married, get kids, whatever. Some people get to start like orphanages where it depends on how you went. But the fact is, at the end of the day, make sure that your social life, it is in order, because the way you got in, that's the way you're gonna get out. So it's always good to make sure that at least you do something about yourself. Now, the thing is, let me just recap exactly what I've said. The point number 1, I said, do what you understand. Don't over diversify and be all over the places. When I said don't over diversify, that's not the point. What I'm saying is that do that what you understand, and leverage on that. Put your eye on that so that you may be able to generate maximum out of it. Number 2, monitor every coin that comes in your way. Have yourself a budget, and not just a budget, a working budget. A budget that you know, hey, I'm relying with this budget because this is my target. And by the way, don't just create a budget out of nowhere. Create a budget with regard to what you're aiming as your goal. You see? Because what helps us, or why we budget, is because we want to salvage some cash. And when we salvage that's our cash, because we have a certain goal. Let's say maybe by the time you clock your 55, your goal is to maybe have an investment portfolio of say 10 million, because you want to get something like 100k at the end of the month from your investment. See, then therefore it means as whatever you're doing right now with the current cash that you have to save an X amount of money. And for you to save an X amount of money, it means that then you have to assume this kind of a lifestyle for you to be able to get that X amount of money. This is why I always say you have to count the cost and pay the price. Those are two different things. Okay. Now the other thing is about, not a must you be understood. This is a situation whereby you live a life whereby it's defined by fellow people who are out there. No, define your life, carve your life. It's about you to them, not them to you. And one thing I'm saying on this particular point, I don't mean like you be arrogant. Just be a listen to them. You can get an idea from people and all those kind of things. By the way, have you ever realized one thing? The moment you clock 40, it is an age of more an observatory age than contribution age. This is that age that you can just, probably you're watching me right now and you're like, okay, I agree with you on that. I agree with you. I don't agree with you. And I don't even have to be harsh on you. I just, yeah. You see, maturity is so good such that whenever you realize somebody is saying something that you don't agree, you're just listening to them. You're like, yeah, that's great, but that doesn't work for me. You just let go. You don't have to. But you find this young generation, somebody at 21, at 22, you have not even explored well. You're barely 3 years after you became an adult, and somebody is talking about a money market fund and treasury bills. Here you're bashing them. You're telling them, doesn't it work? It's better this. And just listen. Just listen. For God's sake, that somebody might know something that you don't. It's good. That's why you have 2 years and one mouth. Listen first before you do anything out there. It's not always good to be reactive. understand that thing. And then the basket of bills is actually expanding. Make sure yourself, as also you make sure that your stream is also doing good, so that at least you can be able to cater the expanding or the rapid expanding of the basket of income, okay, or the bills rather. The other one, put your social life in order. And the last one, make sure that you diversify to safeguard your property, because at this particular age, it is the age to do that. And by the way, don't always forget that my number is always on the description of this specific video. You can grab it, give me a call, and we can be able to discuss one or two as far as the investments are concerned. For now, so goodbye and see you at the next one.